What I love about how you look at a lot of things, not just music but life, is you seem to always approach it from, what can I learn from this? What can I gain from this? What do I have to better myself from this? And I love that you'll sit in a room like that, and instead of trying to, did you know that? Did you know that the ceiling was made out of poplar, and all that stuff, and just being that guy, just the person that just shuts up, just not because of, for any other reason sometimes than just because of the space. It reminded me, and I told you, of when I was in the where they signed the Declaration, and there was just such an atmosphere in that room. They had nothing to do with the people in it.
Right.
It's like you could feel it, and you're sitting in the room where it's just the amount of talent that's been in that space, the things that were recorded in that space that you were sitting in, to just be smart enough to just not fucking say anything. Just,
But, I did
to just, whether you're dumb or not, to just be smart enough to just,
The one time I did speak up in those sessions that I will forever remember is the guy that comes through every half hour in the studio, and there's all of the cast of characters. I'm in the producer role, so I'm on the leather couch, and you've got all the people in the room, and this guy comes through every half hour and he whispers in your ear, "Can I get you anything? Coffee, tea, water, whatever." Wow. So, of course I'm in England, so I'm drinking tea. That's, that's what you do, Normally I'm a coffee guy, but I'm in England. So
sure.
I'll take tea. And he goes, "How do you want it?" And I'm just like, as English as you can make it. So you get to know the guy. He comes through, and then you step into the break rooms and you start little conversations. And at the end of one of the days, he was coming through the hall and he's like, "Hey, Lonnie, you heading out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I want to ask you a question. We were in Studio 1 all day and yesterday, and that's probably one of the most amazing studios I've ever been in, but isn't it Studio 2 that the Beatles recorded in?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, you want to see it?" Oh. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Of course I want to see it." And he's like, "All right, let me see if anything's going on." And he kind of sneaks back. He's like, "No, come on back. So he takes me back and we walk into Studio 2, and now it's just me and him in this room. So it's not like it's a formal anything. It's just like all of a sudden you stepped into this space and I know nothing about the room. And I look around and I go, "Man, this looks exactly like it seemed to have looked back when the Beatles were here." And I'm like, I say to the guy, what's changed in here? And he's like, "Nothing. Those are the same baffles. Those same microphones, same pianos." And I was like,
"Why? Why would you do that? Would you let them change the baffles in that room?"
He says one thing that has changed, and there's two control rooms at the back. One is the original one downstairs, which goes back to mono recording pre-multi-track. That studio was where everything original was happening. The upper floor was where they were experimenting with stereo. And so they actually had them running simultaneously. And the speakers that they had in that room way back then, eventually, obviously, they're outdated, but they were the speakers that Dark Side of the Moon was mixed and mastered on and recorded. Wow. So, Dark Side of the Moon, they're like, "Well, we can't get rid of these speakers." So he says, the one thing that has changed in this room, if you look on the back wall, there's two speakers up on the wall. And he's like, "We just put them up there so that they could be listened back for the room." And he's like, "It's kind of funny when the old listen back speakers in the live room are the same speakers that they mixed and mastered Dark Side of the Moon on." So I thought that was pretty incredible. But another magic moment was, so I said, "Can I check out the pianos?" And I go over to the pianos, and he's like, "Yeah, this is the one that John Lennon played and, McCartney and all when they recorded here." And he's like, "Yeah." And, when they would sit there and they'd be having a cigarette, they would set their cigarette right there. And you would see these lines of cigarette burns because they would just set the cigarette down and play. And then while they're playing, the cigarette would burn down and it left these cigarette burns. And I was like, man, there's just something magical about just even being in that same space as an artist, as somebody who is in that business, to sit there surrounded by this invisible history that there's nothing there anymore. And, I don't believe there's any spiritual thing happening there. It's just this amazing energy just by being there and soaking it all in. I just had goosebumps. And so I played the piano, of course. And then there was another piano in there that the Beatles also used. So did so many other artists. And when you play it, you hear it and you're like, that piano is so distinctive. If you come up with a list of songs it's been on, it's like, it sounds just like those songs. So anyway, that was the one point that I did speak up a little bit and kind of stuck my toe out there, but it was with the guy that gets the coffee, who's also, of course, a brilliant engineer on his way up. But you start getting the coffee at Abbey Road.